Mitosis is the series of changes that cells go through during cell division. Well, that's it, Minekeeper. See ya. Psych. Sorry. Old med school prank. Okay, but seriously, let me back it up a little. All living things, or organisms, are made up of cells. That's an organism ground rule. And though some things, like you and me, are made up of many cells, most organisms are only made up of one cell, or are unicellular, like bacteria and protists. Within their single cell, unicellular organisms have to carry out all life functions on their own in order to stay alive and continue the species. And by life functions, I mean things like locomotion, or moving from place to place, and reproduction. Cells also need to take in nutrients to carry out these life functions, since nutrients provide energy for work and materials that cells need to stay alive. But if we're talking about mitosis, then the main life function we're concerned with is reproduction. Unicellular organisms most often reproduce asexually, which means offspring are made by just one parent. And typically, unicellular organisms such as bacteria reproduce asexually through binary fission. Not binary vision, binary fission, which is when a cell splits to form two separate cells that will grow independently of each other. A bacterium, like one of these, grows and grows and grows and grows to almost double its original size, then bloop, splits right into two cells. So, to bring it full circle, this cell splitting, or cell division, occurs through, you got it, mitosis. Mitosis is a series of changes that a cell goes through during cell division. And just like a solid move on the dance floor, there are 4 steps involved in mitosis: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Through this process, the nucleus divides to form 2 new nuclei, each containing the same number and type of chromosomes as the original. Oh, hold up. I forgot to mention that chromosomes are the parts of a cell that contain the genes that determine specific traits or characteristics. So there you go. Mitosis is a form of asexual reproduction that produces 2 identical daughter cells. Unicellular organisms that reproduce through binary fission first grow to double their size and then go through mitosis only once in order to produce 2 identical one-celled offspring. And when the time comes, those offspring will reproduce through mitosis on their own as well. Babies growing up so fast these days. Okay, I'm going to go step out of screen for a sec. You just let me know when you're ready for a quick question about this stuff, and we'll move on. Okay, so you're up to speed with the fact that bacteria, protists, and other unicellular organisms reproduce asexually through one mitotic division. And you also know that the offspring are identical to the parent unicellular organism. All well and good, right? Mitosis is something that these tiny, single-celled critters do and nobody else. And that's that. Right? Nope. No way, Soleil. Some multicellular organisms, we're talking plants and animals now, also reproduce asexually, but through numerous mitotic divisions. Now, keep in mind, multicellular organisms also have to carry out all life functions if they want to stay alive and continue the species. But one big difference between multicellular and unicellular organisms is that the multicellular varieties have many cells to share the workload of those life functions. Unicellular organisms only have the one cell, by definition, which is one reason why asexual reproduction makes sense for them. One parent cell, 2 offspring. But like I said, some multicellular organisms reproduce asexually as well. Not nearly as many as those that reproduce by sexual reproduction, but still, enough to count. Why don't I show you how they use mitosis to get the job done? Peep this hydra. A hydra is an animal that reproduces asexually by budding. That means that the parent grows a bud which is an offspring attached to the parent. This bud initially starts from the mitotic division of one cell, and then the two new cells divide through mitosis to form 4 more cells of the bud. The 4 cells then divide mitotically to form 8 cells, and so on. The number of mitotic divisions increases, which means that the number of cells in the offspring increases, which means that the offspring is growing. When the offspring grows into an adult, it detaches from the parent. So, the bud takes a while to fully grow into maturity before it leaves its mom's house. Detaches from its parent. Hey, even yours truly took a while to move out of my parents and get my own place. You and me, bud, we took time to grow. So again, mitosis is a form of asexual reproduction that produces 2 identical daughter cells. Unlike unicellular organisms that reproduce through binary fission, one single mitotic division, multicellular organisms that reproduce asexually, like the hydra, undergo numerous mitotic divisions to create an identical, many-celled offspring. These offspring of multicellular organisms can continue to grow and develop through additional mitotic divisions. And eventually, they'll reproduce through mitosis as well. Oh, the circle of life. Okay, how about I let you circle back around and catch up on some notes for all of this? When you're done, give me a shout and we'll mosey along. So, unicellular organisms, multicellular organisms, both can reproduce asexually through mitotic divisions. And it doesn't matter if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4,000 mitotic divisions, the offspring are identical to the parent organism. Now, hold that train a sec. How do multicellular organisms that reproduce sexually fit into this equation? Because their offspring also undergo mitosis to develop, but in their case, that is for sexually reproducing organisms, meiosis occurs first. Meiosis is the type of cell division that goes through 2 rounds of the 4 mitotic steps. That is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, resulting in reproductive cells with half the original number of chromosomes. So, that means multicellular organisms of the opposite sex both have to contribute a reproductive cell for fertilization. A sperm cell from the organism with a male reproductive system, and an egg cell from the organism with a female reproductive system. And since the sperm cell has half the genetic material of one parent, and the egg cell has half the genetic material of the other parent, they join to form one cell with the full amount of genetic material for that organism. Now, this is important. This one fertilized cell is not identical to either parent. Got that? All right. Time to start the mitosis, because this little dude's got to get multicellular and fast. Through mitosis, the one fertilized cell of that multicellular organism starts to develop by dividing to form 2 cells. Then the organism continues to grow as these 2 cells divide to form 4 cells. Those 4 cells divide to form 8 cells. Those 8 cells divide to yada, yada, yada. And this mitotic division just keeps going until there are thousands, millions, billions, or trillions of cells depending on the size of the multicellular organism. Now, once that organism is fully grown, it might seem like it's finished with mitosis. No more new cells. But no. Mitosis also occurs for the replacement of damaged or dead cells, like skin and red blood cells. However, some cells, like those in the kidneys or lungs, cannot be replaced. No more mitosis. This is why disease or damage to the kidneys or lungs is very dangerous. Once those cells are gone, they're gone. Now, before I get gone myself, let me hit you with all this again. Mitosis occurs in sexually and asexually reproducing organisms to help the organism grow and develop, as well as to replace damaged or dead cells. But remember that mitosis is not a form of reproduction for sexually reproducing organisms. Meiosis is how sexually reproducing organisms create offspring. All right. I'll let all that simmer in your stew for a hot minute while I drop out of frame and get this question ready for you. Back soon. So, in the world of multicellular organisms, you've got your plant cells and your animal cells. And though they have their differences, there's some major common ground there too. The most important similarity between these two types of cells is that they both have a nucleus, which is one of the most important cell parts during mitosis. That's because the nucleus contains the cell's DNA, or the genetic material which tells the cell how to operate. It's located on the chromosomes, which include the genes that determine specific traits within the nucleus. All right. So now that we've got our focus, let's take a look at all the steps that occur during mitosis in an animal cell as an example. First things first, during interphase, the step before mitosis begins, the cell grows in size as new materials and cell parts are made. And inside the nucleus, the chromosomes are duplicated, still in the form of loosely packed chromatin fibers. In the next step, early prophase, each chromosome appears as two identical strands called chromatids, which are the two strands that form when a chromosome copies itself. The chromatids are then joined together by a single centromere, which is also the part of the chromosome that the spindle fiber attaches to. After that, during late prophase, the chromosomes get thicker, the centrioles move to opposite ends of the cell, and the membrane around the nucleus goes away. Something big's about to happen. I can feel it. Then, get ready. It's time for metaphase, where the chromatids line up in the middle of the cell by attaching themselves to the fibers of the cell spindle. And then anaphase, where the pairs of chromatids separate from each other and move toward opposite ends of the cell. And then, blah-dow, telophase, where a new membrane forms around each of the two groups of chromosomes. My, oh my, we have two nuclei. Whew. Well, there you go. The heavy lifting of mitosis in a nutshell. Simply put, the overall result of the changes in mitosis is that the nucleus divides to form two new nuclei, each containing the same number and type of chromosomes as the original. After all that's done, the cytoplasm divides to form two separate daughter cells during what's called cytokinesis. Eventually, these two daughter cells will go through the process of mitosis themselves, so they can help in the growth of the organism or replacement of damaged cells. All right. Looks like all my info on mitosis is spent for now. I know you'll be able to restore this area, Mindkeeper. Take a minute for yourself, regroup, get pumped, and give me a big, "I've got this," when you're ready for my last question.